Hey guys, thanks so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast. I'm Daniel and we're here to help you gamers realize your full potential through gaming. And today I have a fun guest for you guys. This is Stephen Higgins, and Stephen is the VP of Business for Peace Love Biz, which is a full service accounting firm. And when he's not saving your business during tax season, he's also helping businesses strategize and grow their own businesses. So Stephen, thank you so much and welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, Daniel. Things are good. Stayed up way too late last night playing Assassin's Creed. So,
There you
yeah.
go. But we love to see it. Like we're gamers, we know what that's like, right? Just staying up late, just playing our favorite games. So I wanted to hear a little bit about kind of that, how you balance that too, because like I know, like we joke sometimes we're up late playing games, but it's really trying to understand. And part of this podcast, how we can play games, we can enjoy what we love, but still have time to do other things and making kind of a full life for ourselves doing other work. So tell us a little bit about Peace Love Biz and what that's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Peace Love Biz is a full service accounting firm. We work with business owners and individuals on both, tax prep, tax advisory, and saving their money, but also getting into the nitty-gritty with the bookkeeping, the CFO side of things, of helping people run their businesses more efficiently. Um, Thankfully, I am the business owner with my partner, Mary Roach, and we have our own schedules, which is a gift and a curse because we'll be on client calls till way too late at night, even 2, 3 in the morning some days. Which we're trying to figure that out with the level of accessibility we give people.
Yep.
But we kind of have a good understanding of when each of us needs their me time.
Mm.
Uh, Now, me, I've got two small kids, both of which are home right now, and I really hope they don't start banging on the door. But you know, balancing life to me, I get to play my games as soon as everybody goes to bed. So I'm like, okay, everybody, brush your teeth, go to bed. I need my time.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I've generated a good understanding with the wife too. Um, she's an avid reader, so she'll go through books like crazy. And when we first got married, I explained to her that me playing video games is like me reading a story that I can interact with. And so that's really where I got my leeway to have a nice game room.
So she really understood and connected on that, right? So equating it to the books. That's wow.
Yeah,
Because I know
but
there's a lot of people out there that may have that kind of problems. Great to have that kind of advice or that kind of story that's worked for you. Because I know there's plenty of gamers out there that don't have partners that are as understanding, right? That they'll be like, they think it is truly just like a waste of a time or 100% just escapism. You don't, you're not doing anything or you're not doing anything productive. Like, why are you just playing games, right?
yeah, and it's lucky. I did get lucky with that. I know a lot of people do struggle with that, but it's nothing to be ashamed of, is it really? Um,
Because at the end of the day, it's also just like it's a passion, it's a hobby, right? So like, how can you fault people for their hobbies if you? Because regardless of what they are doing, right? It's something that kind of decompress or de-stress, and if it just happens to be video games, it's always surprising to me. And one of the quotes I love is, "Yeah, how is it that we can binge like Netflix, right, for like 8, 10 hours, like watch a whole season of something?" And then like we spend 2 hours playing a video game and suddenly that's a waste of time.
yeah, 100%. And the great thing is the skills you develop as a video gamer, you don't get that in any other kind of hobby. I mean, hand-eye coordination, for example. Um, I mean, I was a big Guitar Hero guy back in the day,
Mhm.
to the point where I was struggling on Guitar Hero 1 at Ozzy Osbourne Bark at the Moon,
Mhm.
and I switched the game off, picked up my guitar to learn it on my real guitar, to then put that into Guitar Hero practice so I can move on to the next set list. So it's,
That's great. Let's go to the real guitar to learn how to play on Guitar Hero. That's
yeah,
most
it
people
was
think
kind
you
of
do it the other way around, right? So,
you normally do. But that for me, it was a timing issue I had with the solo. I was like, what is going on with this solo that I can't quite figure out? So Um, but I know that that was something we really wanted to touch on was, the application of video games into business and sales. Uh,
Absolutely. And that's what, like I said, this podcast is really about just helping gamers understand just the power of games and how it applies to the rest of their lives outside of gaming, including business, right? If you're trying to start or run your own business. And we talked a little bit before, and absolutely would love to bring that into this space to say, like, how has being a gamer or how has gaming helped you, being a better business owner, business leader?
yeah. So there's a few games that have always been near and dear to me. And one of the series which we touched on before we started recording was Command and Conquer. The real-time strategy and the strategic thinking and decision making in those types of video games is it's it's a true kind of reflection on life and running a business in general because you can't go and attack an enemy without building your base, getting your squads ready, all of these types of things. You have to put processes in place. Um, it's it's funny the parallels you can give in terms of how aggressive do you want to be, how gung ho, or do you want to take it slowly, methodically, take out a couple of defenses here, work your way into a base. It was kind of funny the parallels you can give. Um, the one I just redone recently was XCOM 2. Um, I remember as a kid, my dad was playing XCOM and I was tiny. It was back on a really old PC. I didn't know what he was doing, but I was fascinated just by the grid that he was playing on,
Mhm.
essentially, and the aliens. Um, but to me, there's no better way of kind of refining your decision making abilities with that. Um, and learning that there's different people for different tasks. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think there's a few things to touch on there because yeah, having people for different roles and knowing their strengths, right, is definitely something that we learned just through gaming. So just being able to manage even just the personnel type of resources, I think is huge. And then
yeah,
gosh, so much good stuff because as far as the I want to say like especially I think you mentioned as far as the sales process itself too, is that something that you said you had some good success using kind of gaming
yeah.
elements, I guess.
So early in my professional career, I'm only 34, so I don't have much of a professional career, but I've had a pretty successful one in the time that I've had. What I was able to do in entry level sales was apply a sales is a competitive thing. If you're in a room with 10 or 12 people, you, if you are a gamer, typically you want the high score. You want to be at the top of that leaderboard. So for me, it was always a case of, okay, how do I get better? How do I level up to get more sales? Do I just have to work harder and play more games essentially to get the sales that I needed? Or do I just need to get better and make sure that the quality of what I do is better than the volume? So there's a nice kind of balancing act. Um, but when you're in a room with actual salespeople and they all want the high score, you feel the competitive juices flowing to the point where we actually had a we had a sales floor and then we had a kind of a mini break room where two or three of the guys would live and sell. We had a Nintendo 64 in there, we had a couple of games, and it was just the room to get the juices flowing and really dive into you being ready to sell.
Ah, okay.
So it was kind of a mindset thing where, yes, competition will always make the cream rise to the top. Um, and just knowing that, there's always plaudits for being at the top of the leaderboard as well. Whether it's the pay, the commissions that comes with it from a sales side, or the accolades and, promotions maybe from it. I don't know. Um, but it's always an
Oh,
evolution.
yeah. And it sounds like, and you mentioned before, like being able to kind of whether it's go fast or like how. how you want to get there or how quickly, right? So like, do you build fast? Do you work on the process, right? Do you, yeah. So there's a certain things you can tighten up. So it kind of reminds me of, so when you mentioned Command and Conquer, whether it's, some of these RTS, StarCraft, Warcraft, these kind of things, there's the sense of in the gamer vernacular, right? The build order, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, what do you build and in what order to be as efficient as possible, right? Because that's what as gamers we're like, all right, how do we get that edge? And I count myself too. I'm like, yeah, I'll go look, don't need to reinvent the wheel. I can go look at a build order. Like, what have people found out that has worked so well? And so it sounds like what you're saying too, even in business, it sounds, wouldn't it be nice to have a build order?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we work with probably 40 to 50 recurring clients a month who depend on us for our advice on more financial matters, but we also help with their business development. We help with their operations and how to run and put SOPs in place. There's so many people that want to hire more office assistants to take phone calls for sales that they haven't generated yet. They haven't got their pipeline in place. They haven't got the structure to be able to, afford the influx, for example, or expect the influx, probably is a better way of saying it. And we really have to. uh, We did a podcast earlier this year where we talked about, are you running a business or are you running a hobby?
Mm,
Because a lot of people like to play and, not take themselves too seriously. And I feel like I'm that person, but I know how to get things done. Um, so it's like, you know, how serious are you? Are you prepared to take the right steps and get that build order right to then be successful? Because without the right build order, you're not going to have the right pieces, the right infantry, the right tanks, the vehicles, the aircraft, whatever it is, in place to be successful and grow to where you want to be.
exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. So having that strategy, having that build order is really helpful. And it sounds like that's exactly what you do for a lot of these businesses for not only the financial side, but for the business development. So the question I'm sure a lot of gamers might come up with to say like, well, how do I know? Or maybe that they'll identify, maybe they notice that where they're like, oh, well, I don't want to just have a hobby. Like I want to have a business that actually earns me an income. So I don't have to go, work for the man or whatever. So how do I know? Like what kind of criteria would you help people to understand to say like, how do I know I'm not, or if I'm not taking it seriously enough? Right.
Well, there's a couple of ways you can look at it. And first off, I think it's more about the mindset and the mentality of the person rather than the actual business themselves.
Mm.
Uh, for example, you might be in a really good industry, or you might have found a niche that should be able to make you money, but that isn't always going to result in you making millions of dollars and being financially free. Um, so it's really a mindset thing of, am I driven? Am I, you know, am I prepared to take feedback? And because you'll get, if even if you're a sole entrepreneur, you will get feedback from your clients. You'll also get feedback from the stakeholders around you that you interact with, vendors even, for example. And you'll know if you are handling criticism the right way or, you know, developing in the right way. Um, we are, we mentioned earlier about learning how to deal with specialists and, making sure people are in the right places. I'm a big advocate of, if you don't know, find somebody that does. Um, which is why, people will go out and hire an accountant, they'll hire an attorney, they'll go to a doctor. You don't operate open heart surgery on yourself, do you? You you have professionals like that for a reason. And it's
Right.
the same thing in business. And, you know, you learn, a lot of RPGs have those roles to fulfill certain things. And that's something you could equate that
Yeah.
to.
And that's actually really interesting because I haven't thought of it that way too. Is what a fun metaphor is, like doing the open heart surgery on yourself applied to business means that, you don't necessarily, even if you're good at the thing, it doesn't mean that you always have to be the one that does it, right? Because that
Yeah,
you could free yourself up for more resources by hiring somebody that does something similar to even what you do, just to like take the workload off, right? And so I think what you're saying too is like, you can have certain people for certain roles, but make sure that those roles exist, right? Because I love that example of
yeah,
like hiring people to take sales calls when the phone's not ringing. But
absolutely. That there was actually also in the last year we hired a marketing executive for us because I was doing all the social posting, I was doing all of the email blasts, I was doing all of the outbound marketing for our team.
Mhm.
My time was better off served by interacting with clients, finding out what they need so they could grow their businesses, which would help us grow ours. So we brought on this marketing executive who's been a phenomenon for us. And a lot of it is knowing when the time is that you can do that. But it's, you go to Sim City, you go to The Sims, you go to all of these games that have financial resources, for example. Where are you going to spend your money the best way? And the old adage, time is money. It's, I think it's kind of a lame, it's a lame way of saying things these days. But if you can equate time to money, where is your time best spent to generate the most revenue or give you the time for you that you need? Because that's important.
Exactly. And a lot of it too is that really, I think what we're talking about is this kind of focus, right? Just saying like where's the, I'll call it the revenue generating activities, right? Because you want to be able to spend time on, like in your example, like sales calls. Having, you might not need people to answer the phones yet, but when you do, like, would be nice to have people, yourself there to answer the phone, because you need to talk to people to be able to sell to them, right? So, because conversely, because I've seen, I'm sure you've probably seen examples too, where there's people that are more focused on the non-revenue activities, where because those are scary, right? I have to go talk to people, I have to sell something. Holy crap. So what if I just like go tweak my website a little bit? Maybe if I can, maybe we should redesign the logo. What about this font? We could change that. And so some of the stuff is just so minor that people spend a lot of time on that it's like, and I think it goes back to your point of like, at that point, it sounds like you have a hobby.
Well, they're too busy doing side quests instead of the main
There you,
quest. Um,
that's exactly right.
that's why I'm putting it. And there's people that we've spoken to this year where they say, "I have no time. I'm working so hard," and they are working hard, but they're not working smart. And
Mm.
there's th- so long as they feel busy, they feel like they're doing the job. And I talk to a business coach. I have worked with other business coaches as well. And if I was talking to a gentleman this morning, ironically, he's a friend that's resurfaced from my business partner and from 30, no, 20 years ago or so. Um, and it comes to it, and he's like, I I needed you. I thought of you guys for a reason. What was what was apparent was that the methodology and the ideas that you guys have, they align with what we do. Um,
Uh,
and that was important to me. I was like, okay, if you find like-minded people that think in a similar vein, um, that will help you massively. But the point that I was going to make, which I was rambling because I forgot the point.
all
I was
good.
I was side questing for a second.
Yep.
Um, you never want to be the smartest person in the room,
Mm.
right? You hear that a lot, and that's because you're gonna be teaching rather than learning. When you get to that point where you can just teach and you don't need to learn, that's gonna be a room I will want to be in one day, sure. But there's so much more room for growth and leveling up that you
Yep.
You know, especially in business, you always find a way. I go into a networking meeting every other Friday where we just try and learn from each other. We'll have a specific topic. We'll talk about, you know, how are you hiring? How are you developing business? How are you marketing yourselves? And we're all just trying to get that little bit better, getting getting the XP,
Yep.
and you know, it's constant development. Yeah,
That's awesome. So what it sounds like, so we mentioned as far as like, not, you don't want to take yourself necessarily too seriously, but it sounds like, we need to take ourselves sometimes more seriously than enough, 'cause, so we're not side questing. Like you said, we want to make sure that we're actually doing the things that can actually help us. And then you mentioned earlier, of course, I wanted to kind of put the two together as far as like that sales and competitiveness to try to like one up to help push the growth forward. Uh, so I wanted to talk about kind of some people that may sit there and say like, okay, well, but I'm not a competitive person, right? I don't, or maybe I don't like conflict. Like I wanted to, the people that are fan of the couch co-op, right? Be like, let's just have fun and grow together. Can we do that in business? Is that possible?
yeah.
And then how can we still be serious enough to still not make it more than just a hobby?
That's I love that question because you will have the people that want everything in life. They'll want the cars, the money, the fame, the houses, all of that stuff. But you'll also have the more casual people that once they get to a set number, they're happy, they're content, they don't want to grow more. That's okay. Um, for me, what I do with a lot of our people is we sit down probably every 3 to 6 months, and it's like, okay, where do you want to be 6 months, a year, 5 years from now? Like, let's just refocus. Are you happy where you are? Where do you want to be? And how do we get you there? Um, I've got, there's a lady who, she's a hairdresser. She is a specialist in curls, which I would never have any experience from. Um, so,
Same, but
she,
maybe more so you.
yeah. Um, But she said to us, you know, I'm happy with the money I'm making. I have a comfortable living. I don't need any more. And we continued talking, and somehow we got on the topic of her eventually owning her own building, selling salon chairs out to ladies so that they could do their own hair. And, you know, next thing we know, she's got this big enterprise that she's working with just because she wanted to have her own space. That was what it was.
Mm,
She wanted to get out of somebody else's space and get her own so she wasn't tied down. And so, you know, the next thing I don't know, I'm talking to my commercial realtors, my mortgage people, and I'm giving her the tools because she's not a realtor. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's not a
yeah.
mortgage broker. She doesn't know what she's doing. Get those specialists, and, you know, the casual players can play the game at their pace. That's the idea. But you know, peace, love, biz came from having peace and security, but it's also a lot of peace of mind. You know, we offer not financial security because I can't really say that, but
Yeah.
we give people the peace of mind to know that they are in good hands. They can keep developing, growing their business, and going at their own speed. Um, and that is okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because I think what we're saying is that you can play. We've noticed this in games, right? So for those listening too, right, play especially like the MMOs, right? Because you always hear whether it's WoW, FF14, there's a gazillion of them, right? But those people that like do like there's like achievements, right, for like world first, right? And people like hear about this like, oh yeah, the new raid comes out and they go and they clear it, and this is the guild that did it first. And there's some competitiveness there to be like, all right, who's going to be number one? And they have that kind of mentality and they go hard on that. But anyone can still do it. Like anyone can get there when they get there, right? So so I love that kind of example of our just like the casual player can get there. So the casual business owner can get there. You just understand that there's people that are going to be working more or harder that may get to their goals faster than you are. But that's not, but don't compare yourself to that. I think is kind of what we're saying too, just to say you can get there based on the work that you do. Just don't look at somebody that's going 1,000 miles an hour being like, wow, they're way faster than me. It's like, well, maybe if if you don't want to be competitive, you don't want to go that fast, that's fine. Just know that it will take some work, but you'll eventually get there.
Everybody's playing their own game. That's the main thing. You know, I want everything. I want to be financially free.
Yeah.
I want my car. I want all of these things that I have in mind. But it's going to get there. It's just going to take the time and it's going to take the steps to get there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, People will play Stardew Valley. They'll play. Honestly, I like Pokemon as an example here.
Mm.
You've got the people that will just, my gosh, how many people do you see doing Nuzlocks and really stupid hard things? It's like, why do you put yourself through that torture?
Yeah.
Um, but you'll get the people that go through to get all the gym badges and that's it. But then you've got the people that'll take their time, they'll catch a million Pokemon and they'll try and complete the Pokédex, or you can play that game however you want. You can limit yourself, you can do a fire only run or
Yeah.
you know,
Do crazy things like that. Yeah.
and that's the great thing about life and business comparing it to gaming. Everybody is a unique situation. While there may be similarities in the way that you play the game of business, it's going to be, you are always going to be your own unique character. You'll have different skill points you'll be leveling into.
Mhm.
You'll have different things that you're better at than other people, and that's just what you've got to understand, I think.
Yeah, and I think what people need and maybe you can help us kind of come to the understanding too, as far as because I want to say that we're some people might say we're playing both sides here, where we're saying, everybody's unique and different. You have your own path, but at the same time, there is a build order and a strategy that you can follow, right? So at what
Yeah.
point am I following the strategy versus making it my own?
Hmm. It's a good question. I mean, a lot of what you can do is gut feeling. You know if you're doing the right thing, and integrity and the definition. My dad said when I was a kid, and it stuck with me forever, is the definition of integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's watching.
Mm.
As a business owner, unless you've got that one person or you've got somebody with you that's going to be like, okay, you're going to be on your own. You're going to need to know it internally if what you are doing feels right. And, you know, whether it's the revenue, whether it's um, the people that you're helping. There's a lot of nonprofits that we work with, and it's like money isn't everything. It's the role and the fulfillment. Um, is that coming through? At that point, if it's not coming through, then go talk to somebody, find a business coach, find you, find, you know, your CFO, whatever it is that can help guide you, get you back on the right track, and, you know, back to doing it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot
Uh,
of it is self-reflection, and that's the difficult thing. Is did a podcast last week where it was facing the reality and learning, dealing with hard truths.
yeah, that's
And
dealing with the hard truth.
that's
The
a hard part.
self-reflection isn't, I mean, it's rough sometimes, but it is important, right? Because one of the things I've heard for self-reflection, at least as far as business and especially for solopreneurs, is really just taking a hard look at yourself as an employee, right? It's like, yes, you're a solopreneur, or yes, you're a business owner, but at the same time, you're still working on slash in the business. So if you looked at it through the lens of, you're employing yourself, how are you as an employee? Would you pay yourself? Would you pay yourself as the employee for the job that you're doing?
It's a great question because, like, there's a lot of people that would. We talked about the busybodies that are working hard, not smart, and side questing,
Yep.
you're not going to pay those people as much as the people that are doing the actual smart work. Um, you've got your MVPs on a team for a reason. Um, there's always going to be those people that are worth more because they do either critical roles or critical jobs, or there's people that really have a bigger impact on a business than the ants, the grunts, whatever you want to call them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think that's a perfect way to put it because, and so that's why I love that kind of metaphor as far as paying yourself as the employee because it really makes you take a hard look. Like you said, are you side questing? Are you doing like you said the things that really move the needle that really hit that you would pay those MVPs for? So
yeah.
fantastic.
And the difficult thing is working on a business or in a business, like finding that definition is sometimes you have to work in the business. Like as smaller business owners, they have to do the job. You've got a pressure washing guy, for example. He's also got to do the pressure washing as well as paying the invoices, running the business, getting his insurances in check, all these different things. He's also got to go and do the job to generate the revenue.
Right.
Then
That's
it's going to get to that point where, can he then pay somebody to do the pressure washing? Does he just get a bookkeeper, a CFO to help him with the financial side of the business so that he can do more pressure washing? Like, and that's up to that individual. And that's the cool thing with the comparison between RPGs and running a business.
And I love it, and I think we got back to that comparison too, the to the question of build order versus having your own journey, and it
Yeah.
really is. It's like, well, yeah, I love your answer because it's really both. Because it's
Yeah,
like there's a set maybe a strategy of best practices way to do things, but it doesn't mean you have to do every piece of it, right?
that's right. And Command and Conquer,
Mhm.
without power, all of your key structures go down.
Yep.
So let's go back to build order. There are specific things that you will need as a business owner in your build order that will be critical. And, say you've got that one employee that is shouldering 80% of the workload, for example, because they are that good. How long is it going to be before they shut down and they start to fail because of they're overworked?
Hmm.
You need to find either ways to help them, somebody else that you could bring in that will take some of the workload off. But that power plant analogy, I just realized is really important because without the power, without the Tiberium,
It all falls apart, right? Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's a great analogy. Yeah, that's because you have to do things in the right order, or the whole thing shuts down. That's I love the phone number example too that I've heard where if you have your best friend's phone number or something, and you try to dial the number, if you could hit all the right buttons, but if you hit them in the wrong order, you're not gonna you're not gonna talk to your friend. You're gonna find somebody else, right? So
absolutely.
orders are very helpful and necessary a lot of time.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
and if you need guidance with that build order, then reach out to a professional. Um, I'm a big advocate of finding the people that you mesh with and
Yep.
outsourcing where you're not in your wheelhouse. Stay in your genius, stay in what you're good at. And if that is doing the grunt work, then hire people to run the business for you and stay in your grunt work lane. Like that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's okay to do.
Yeah.
And so gosh, so as we wind down this particular episode, so what a great segue into just where can people find out more about you, Stephen, and Peace Love Biz?
Yeah, so Peace Love Biz, we have a podcast as well as our website. If you go to peaceluvbiz.com, that's our website. You'll be able to find a little bit more about us, what we do, how we do it. You'll see some cool testimonials as well. But we also have our podcast available on most major platforms and YouTube as well. Same same name, Peace Love Biz. There we talk about entrepreneurialism, mindset, some accounting, um, but we tailor it to the small to medium business owner that, you know, sometimes they feel like they're on their own, they're on an island, and, you know, it's Ark survival. um,
Haven't played that one in a minute either, but yeah.
yeah,
That's it.
that's another one I run through occasionally and just, tinker around. But yeah,
Yep.
that's how you can find us, peacelovebiz.com. And you're always welcome to message on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever you can find us.
Fantastic. Great. So, Stephen, thank you so much for being a part of this. This has been so much
Oh,
fun. And so, guys, definitely check out Peace Love Biz if you're looking for that kind of strategy, especially around your finances for those small and medium businesses. Fantastic. And if you're looking to leverage that gaming skill into your own company, into your own leadership, definitely check out my website as well, dragonmorexp.com, and start your journey with me there today. And before we go, Stephen, I do have one final question for you. And that is the question I ask everyone on this podcast, which of course is, what is your favorite video game?
unequivocally, it is Final Fantasy X.
Ooh, love 10. That's a great one. So, I was thinking you were going to go Command and Conquer there for a second, but
Command and Conquer is always going to be true to me, but funny story actually. Final
Hmm,
Fantasy X came out, and my friend had a copy of it on his PS2. I didn't have it yet. I borrowed it from him. However, I was grounded. I was not allowed electronics at the time. I was in full lockdown mode as a kid. But I smuggled this copy of Final Fantasy X into the house. I start playing it. I get in trouble, but I still get captivated. The story, but yeah, no, I love the storytelling. Obviously, it was the first Final Fantasy with voice acting.
yeah,
I don't know. It tugs at the strings and
they did
they'll
such a great
forever.
job on that one. Just everything about it too. Like I was a fan of the sphere grid even as well.
Yeah.
Just the unique kind of leveling system there. I think it was like the first Final Fantasy that really treated summons like really well, like different than like just most of the other Final Fantasies. It's just kind of like more flashy black magic, I guess. It's like, oh, it casts a little bit longer and it hits a little bit harder. And 10 was like,
Yeah.
oh no, it's truly a summon that stays around, hangs around, fight, and then goes away. And I'm like, okay. Like the so love 10 for that too.
Yeah, they came up with the leveling ability of the summons. You could give them the abilities. There's so many things that when you play it as an adult compared to your first, second run through that you notice you can break the game so easily. Um, which I don't even
Yeah.
care about. Again,
No.
play your own game. If you want a hard run, don't use the sphere grid. There's so many challenge runs out there. I do enjoy watching other content creators. Um, I don't know if I should be shouting them out or anything, but
Oh yeah, go for it.
there's one in particular called Primal Liquid. You may have stumbled across him. He's kind of
Definitely heard
a
the name.
yeah. He does all the Final Fantasies, but he also does all the mod runs, the hard modes, all that type of stuff. Um, it's just fun watching other people try to break the game or play it in a specific way with set rules that
Yep. I'm a big
always
Final Fantasy VI fan as well, and there's been a lot of challenges over the years of the low level challenge. Like what's the lowest level you can beat the game at? Like average level of all the characters. And I'm just like, that's wild because like, as a kid playing it, I was like, man, I need as many levels as possible because this is, I thought it was hard.
I'm stuck right now on six. I've never completed six. I'm stuck on it right now. We just got to the World of Despair, and
Oh yeah,
um,
the good
I'm
old
I'm
World of Ruin. Yep.
yeah, World of Ruin. That's the one.
Yep,
Sorry.
yep.
And I'm like, what do we do? There's so many tentacles. Um,
Oh, yep. I think I know the exact one you're talking about. Yeah, the
you know where
exact
I
boss.
am.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I'll go and do some figuring out of that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Final Fantasy X, what a great one. I'm a huge Final Fantasy franchise fan, so absolutely love that answer. So, gosh, so much fun. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun, and guys, I hope you've learned a lot. from Stephen. Just kind of especially love the takeaways as far as like, are you side questing or are you main questing? Because that could really help. Just that kind of focus, I think, is just so important, especially just trying to run your own business. So thank you for that, Stephen.
Thank you for having me, and appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely. So, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.